Welcome to the Sharad Kohli show. In the midst of JP Morgan making a forecast on the gold prices by this year end of rupees 1,84,000 per 10 grams, in international markets $6,000 per ounce, we saw gold fall and fall quite substantially after touching $4,470 per ounce. It is now trading at $4,320 per ounce. So what is this contradiction? We'll try and understand why did the gold prices fall. But before that, as you know, it is important to understand geopolitical developments around the world, to understand and to comprehend the perspective in which gold, silver, and other stock markets react. So the latest is that the war between Iran and US is far from over. Houthis again attacked ADNOC, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company's tankers, and not one but two of them. And of course, US and Iran both claiming the control over Strait of Hormuz. They both say that we control Strait of Hormuz. Iran says we control, US says we control. God knows who controls, or maybe both control. Well, the fact of the matter is that Iran is controlling by way of firing missiles on every time a ship crosses, and US also does the same. So that is what is defined as control by both of them. Let's move on to Russia-Ukraine. A new development has happened in the Russia-Ukraine war. Ukraine confessed, or shall I say Ukraine declared, that Russia has hit two of its passenger trains. Now that's a big development. A lot of people must have died. The numbers are not out yet, but two passenger trains have been hit by Russian missiles. So that's a huge development, because passenger trains being hit in the past over these last 4.5 years since the war has been on was not witnessed. Let's go to Japan and Russia. You might be wondering what has got to do between Japan and Russia. Well, there's an island called, which is very close to Japan. It's called Kuril Islands. It's also called Aiturup. Now, these islands were annexed by Russia in 1945 after the World War ended. In fact, Russia had sort of defeated Japan in some way and annexed these islands. President Putin visited those islands yesterday, and Japan has very seriously objected to that these islands, Japan claim, do not belong to Russia. They are very much part of Japan, and Russian president should not have visited those islands. Remember, these islands are called Kuril Islands and Aiturup Islands. So there is another, I would say, bone of contention which is sort of emanating in that area. So that is the news from a new territory, Japan and Russia all together, which we haven't heard of before. In the meanwhile, more proof of China and Russia supporting Iran in their war after Iran declared that we want to carry on this war till as long as President Trump remains as the president, until end of 28 or beginning of 2029. More evidence has now emerged about China supporting, because China is not only helping Iran in launching satellites in the middle of war when there is shortage of food and other essential products, but is also doing satellite surveillance to start rare earth mineral findings and minings in Iran. So that is China. In the middle of war, it can look for its own vested interest, support Iran in war, and in lieu, that is, as a return gift, it wants to find out rare earth mineral deposits in Iran and help Iran in launching more satellites. Unbelievable. A country which is so badly inflicted by war at this point of time. Let us now go back to the geo-economic scenario which emerges out of this geopolitical scenario. Now, what happened? Bond yields, they went up to 4.68, 4.67, 4.66. The dollar index went closer to 100. But as we've been discussing, that gold has seemingly been ignoring these factors. So what happened that led to gold profit booking? Actually, it was profit booking, because the number of long contracts, if you see the COMEX, which I analyzed the data, from 3,84,000 contracts, the long contracts went down to 3,71,000. I'm giving you approximate numbers, which means that a lot of traders in COMEX decided to book profits after the heavy rally of 9 to 10% which gold had seen in the last 10 to 12 days. They wanted to book profits. Second reason, the inflation numbers which came out of US, the consumer price index and the PPI, we call it WPI. Now we also might call it PPI, the producer's price index. Well, I think the traders gradually absorbed that after all, inflation numbers are not as rosy as they are looking. So when they got to terms with reality, they decided to probably go bearish on gold to a certain extent. However, this is no indication of a trend. Definitely no indication of a trend. In the meanwhile, in India, HDFC Mutual Fund, which had put a 2-month embargo on lump sum purchases in its ETF, gold ETFs, has removed those restrictions. SIP, there was no restriction, but lump sum, there was a restriction. So it has removed. Probably Prime Minister Modi's appeal of not buying gold is seemingly now getting a little easy, or at least HDFC Mutual Fund's indications do indicate that that is the scenario. So gold basically from 4470 came down by about $150 after this long unwinding which happened at COMEX last night. Then of course, JP Morgan, the big forecast of $6,000 at the end of 2026. What happens to that? Well, of course, this price movement is short term. This is long unwinding in view of profit booking and what I just told you about interpretation of inflation numbers and so and so. JP Morgan remains very bullish on gold. It is now saying that $6,000 is the target for the end of 2026. Well, if we convert it to Indian rupees after converting ounce to 10 grams and dollar to rupees, it comes to 1,84,000, which is surpassing the earlier records made by gold. Or maybe even more, it could even be 1,90,000. But that's JP Morgan for you. Well, JP Morgan must have had its own research. Well, gold investors, traders wish that JP Morgan's forecast, it comes true. And it doesn't bomb, as some of the earlier occasions we've seen some of the major institutions have been flip-flopping on the gold forecast. Well, when the prices start going up, they are all very bullish and they make their prediction. On the contrary, when the prices get subdued, they quickly revise their predictions. So, very good that JP Morgan says, but I'm not giving too much credence to what JP Morgan says as of now. It's better to be cautious. Please do subscribe to this channel. You're watching the Sharad Kohli show, where I bring you economics, finance, business, tax, and related issues to make things appear simple for you. I also have a Hindi channel which has been running for a while. This is a relatively new channel. Your support by way of subscribing and pressing the bell icon will help me getting more such content for you in the times to come. Until we meet again, goodbye.